I'm Old Norse specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. I teach at the University of Colorado Boulder, previously at UC Berkeley and UCLA. Recently, I've done a series in which I read through the poem Havamal in Old Norse, commenting on each stanza as I went and explaining what the Old Norse says. This is a fairly simple thing or simple procedure with Havamal because there's only one manuscript that contains that poem, the Codex Regius. The next poem that I want to give that treatment is the other of the two most important poems and the two first poems in that manuscript, the Codex Regius, which makes up the bulk of what we call the Poetic Edda. That is the poem Våluspá. But this is not quite as simple a procedure because Våluspá is attested not only in the Codex Regius, but also in a manuscript called Hauksbók, which is a little bit later. Not a little bit later, it's about 100 years later. And Hauksbók contains some stanzas that are not in the Codex Regius, and vice versa. And some of the readings are a little bit different. Additionally, Snorri Sturluson in the Prose Edda quotes much more of Våluspá than he ever does of Havamal. And so there are some alternate readings that come in from Snorri. What I'm going to do with this series is read through the Codex Regius version. That is what I translate from in my own translation of the Poetic Edda. And then what I might do is afterwards take a look in a different video at the Hauksbók Våluspá, at least the stanzas that are different or additional relative to the Codex Regius. As usual, I will be reading in reconstructed Old Norse pronunciation, and I will be attempting to explain the Old Norse rather than to present a published, polished translation, such as you can find in my published translation of the Poetic Edda. At every 9th stanza, I will stop to make sure that I am explaining every single word in that stanza. And I'll do that also with the very first stanza. So, the first stanza of Våluspá in the Codex Regius. Hljóðs bíð ek allar kindir, meri og minni mogu heimdalar. Vildu at ek valfóður, vel fyrtelja forn spjól fyrra, thou fremst man. A hearing, ask I, all families, greater and lesser, sons of Heimdall. You want that I, slaughtered father, well before tell old stories of men, those which earliest, filler word, remember. So I ask for a hearing, hljóðs. That is in the genitive because you ask for something in the genitive. So I ask for a hearing from all families, all kinds, the greater and lesser children of Heimdall. So in the poem Rigsula, Heimdall are fathers, the higher and lower classes of human beings. That's probably what this refers to. You want, father of the slaughtered is Valfóður, that's Odin, that I tell well old stories, those which I remember earliest. And then fira men, that could be a genitive, old stories about men, or it could perhaps be an accusative, tell before men. But I don't think that's as likely. Stanza 2. Ek man jotna or borna, þó forðum mig huda hofdu. Níu manna keima, níu yfirðjór, mjótt við meran, fyrmold neðan. I remember giants, or Jotnar, born early, those who before me had been born. I remember 9 worlds or realms, 9 giant women or troll women, the famous fate tree, Mjótvid, below Fyrnedan, the earth. So she remembers these early giants born before her, and the Prose Edda, when we read Snorri's version of the story of creation, the first beings are giants. She remembers 9 worlds, a classic feature of Norse mythology, as well as these 9 troll women, unknown who exactly they are supposed to be. And no doubt the famous fate tree that's still below the earth, still a seed, is the great world tree, Yggdrasil. Stanza 3. Or var alda, þar Ymir byggði, varasander nesar, nesvalarunir, jordfanskava ne uphimen, gap varginunga, en gras huergi. It was in early ages when Emmer dwelled. There was no sand, no sea, nor cool waves. The earth could not be found, did not exist, nor the heaven above. There was Ginnungagap, but no grass. Now, Ginnungagap is the great void at the beginning before the creation of the worlds. Gap means gap, like in English. The Ginnunga part has been explained as yawning, but also possibly as powerful. So either the yawning gap or the powerful gap, the void at the beginning. And then Emmer, these early ages when Emmer dwelled, Emmer is the first living thing, according to Snorri's account of creation in the Prose Edda. Stanza 4. Other borsunir bjóðum uppðu, þeir Midgard meran skopu. Solskein sunnan og salarsteina, þó var grund gróin, grunum lauki. Before the sons of Bur, that's Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve, lifted up the lands, uppðu bjóðum, and you lift Ippa something in the dative, that's why bjóðum is dative plural there. Those ones, the sons of Bur, Odin and his brothers, who shaped the great or famous Midgard. The sun shone from the south on stones of a hall. Then the ground was grown with a green leek or onion, that kind of leek. Midgardr, of course, is the realm where humans live, the middle enclosure. Stanza 5. Sol varp sunnan sinni mona, hendi inni hygri himmen jodur. Sol that ne vissi hvar hon sali oti, stjörnur that ne vissu hvar þær staði otu, moni that ne vissi what han megins oti. The sun threw from the south, the companion of the moon, with the right hand by the heaven horses. The sun did not know where she had halls, Sali. Stars did not know where they had places, Stadi. The moon did not know what kind of strength, what megans he had. Some things that deserve some comment here. The Himmen Yodir, that's been explained various different ways based on different readings and different manuscripts. I still think that it's just the straightforward thing that it says right there. The heaven, Himmen, Yo, which is horse, deer, animal. Very often in Old Norse you see animals called by the animal name and then deer. So like you see Bjarn, deer, bear animal just means bear. And since Snorri says in the Prose Edda when he's explaining some of these stanzas that the sun and the moon are pulled by horses, then it makes sense to think of that in this stanza. Stanza 6. Thó gengu regin ól og rockstóla, gin heilo góð, og that gatusk, nótt og niðjum, novn gófu. Morgin hetu og miðjan dag, undorn og aftan, orum at telja. Then all the gods went on their reason stools or event stools, those powerful holy gods, Gin Helog God. And they paid attention with each other. So the SK is the reflexive suffix. Gata is to take care of, pay attention to. With a reflexive suffix SK, it can often mean to discuss with one another. So they discussed with one another, Gatusk, about that, that. They gave names, Noven, to night and to the phases of the moon. And they named the morning, Hetu Morgen, and the middle day, Midjan Dag. They named the, Undorn is like the mid-afternoon time period, and the evening, Aptan, in order to tell, Attelia, the years. So the gods arranged the heavens in order to have a way of telling time. Stanza 7. Hittusk æsir ó Íðaveli, þeir horg og hof, hó timbruðu, afla logðu, áð smíðuðu, tangir skópu, og tól gorðu. The Aesir met each other, reflexive SK, on Íðavöllur. They, the gods, who high-timbered, built with high timbers, altar and temple, horg og hof. They made avel, that's the fireplace in the smithy. They made wealth, smíðuðu áð. They made tongs, tangir, and they made tools, toll. Stanza 8. Teveldu í túni, teitir voru, var þeim vetergis, vant or gulli, uns þrjór kvomu, þorsa mojar, og motkar mjok or Jotunheimum. They played board games, probably Hnefatafl, the chess-like board game, in the yard. They were cheerful, teitir. There was, for them, var theim, no lack, vetergis vant, of gold, or gulli. Until 3 came, ladies, young women of the giants. So 3 young women from the giants, Þjór, Mojar, Þorsa. Very mighty, mjok omotkar, from the homes of the giants, or Jotunheimen. Stanza 9, this is one of the 9th stanzas, so we'll go through this word by word. Þó gengu regen ol, o rokstóla, ginn heilo góð, og það gatusk. Hver skuldi dverga, drótin skepja, or bremis blóði, og or blóm legjum. Then walked gods all onto fate stools, event stools, powerful holy gods, and about it they discussed with one another. Who should of dwarves lord shape out of Brimir's blood and out of blue legs? So the first half we've seen before. The gods all went to their seats and they talked with one another. That gin halog, that gin word, comes up in runes too as an old word for powerful that apparently has some sort of supernatural association, so powerful and holy, gin halog. And here they discuss who should make the Lord of the Dwarves out of the blood of Brimir. This is probably Emmer, the original living being, again, judging from the explanation about creation that's in Snorri Sturluson's prose edda. And out of blue legs, since blue, blor, is the color of rotting corpses, this is presumably just out of his rotten flesh. That also jives with what Snorri says in the prose edda. Stanza 10. Þar var mótsognir, meðstur orðin, dverga allra en durin annar, þeir mannlíkon morg gorðu, dvergar or jorðu, sem durin sagði. There was Mótsognir, greatest become, so Mótsognir was the greatest, had become the greatest of them, of all the dwarves, dverga allra, and Durin the second Anar. They made many men's likenesses, manlikon, the dwarves out of the earth, as Durin said. And now we get into the famous Catalogue of the Dwarves, several stanzas in which we basically just get names of dwarves. Some of these have obvious meanings, some of them don't. I mostly prefer just to leave them untranslated myself because the names seem to have more of a word picture to them than a literal meaning to them. Stanza 11. Nyi ok niði, norðri ok suðri, austri ok vestri, alþjófur dvalin, bívor, bóvor, bombur, nori, on ok onar, oi mjóð vitnir. So, Ni and Niði, these may refer to phases of the moon. Norðri and Suðri, that's north and south. Austri og Vestri, that's east and west. Alþjófur, all thief. dwalin, delayed, bivor, bovor, bomber, nori, on, and onar, oi, mjóðvitnir. Mjóðvitnir would be something like mead witness. The others are a little less clear. Notice, of course, that J.R.R. Tolkien famously took many of these names for dwarves in The Hobbit. Veger ok Gandolver, Windolver Throin, Thekker ok Thorin, Thror, Vitter ok Litter, Nor ok Nyróður, Nu hef ég dverga, Regen ok Róðsvíðr, Ret Taldu. Ret Talda. Excuse me. So Veger, drink, and Gandolver, staff elf, Windolver, wind elf, Throin, Thekker, known, and Thorin, dried up, withered. Thror, Vitter ok Litter, so wise and color. Nor, perhaps corpse, and Nyróður, new advised. Now I have counted Nu heavy ek Talda, the dwarves dverga correctly, Ret, and then we get a couple more names, Regen and Róðsvíðr, Róðsvíðr being counsel wise, wise and advice, and then Regen, of course, is the name of the dwarf who fosters Sigurður, the great hero of the saga, the Volsungs. Stanza 13. Fili, Kili, Fundin Noli, Hepti Vili, Hannar Svíur, Fror, Hornbori, Frægr ok Loni, Árvangur, Jari, Eikinskjaldi. Fili, Kili. Fili could be related to file, like the smith's tool. Fundin Noli. Fundin, found. Noli, perhaps from knoll, nail. Hefti, Vili, Hannar, Svíur, Fror, shiny. Hornbori, horn bearer. Frægr ok Loni, Frægr, famous. Árvangur, so perhaps earth plane. Jari, and Eikinskjaldi, Oakenshield. Stanza 14. Mol dverga I dvalins liði, ljóna kindum til lofars telja. Þeir sotu frá salarsteini, Árvanga sjót til Joruvala. The matter or the business is to count Mol telja, the dwarves dverga, in Dvalin's company, I Dvalin's liði, in, and this is apparently the same, or perhaps for the children of men, Kindum Ljóna, to Lovar, who is probably another dwarf based on the fact that his name comes up a little bit later. Those ones there who sought from their steini salar, so from the stone of a hall, the whatever Árvangi is a little bit difficult to say. This could be earth plane. Sjót is then a residence, so they sought a residence on an earthen plain to Joru Valley, or some valleys. Stanza 15. Þar var draupnir ok dogthrasir, hor haugspori, hlevangur glói, skýrvir, virvir, skófidr oi. So there was Draupnir, also the name of Odin's ring, related to the verb for to drop, drip, and dogthrasir. Hor, high, or perhaps if you buy one unpopular interpretation of this word, it could also mean one-eyed. I'm not going to get into that, never mind. Haugspori, so perhaps burial mound, Haug, and then tracer or something with spori. A lot of these names, again, are not super clear in the way they're formed. Hlevangur, Vangur is plain or valley, glowy, maybe that means exactly what it sounds like in English, glowy. Skirvir, virvir, skålfidr, and oi. Oi could be great-grandfather based on the use of that same name in Ríkisþula. Stanza 16. Olver og Yngvi, Eikinskjaldi, Fjallar og Frosti, Finnur og Ginnar, það mun uppi meðan old lifir, langniðjatal lofars havat. So we've got Olver, elf, and Yngvi, also probably a name of the god Freyr. We've got Oakenshield again, Eikinskjaldi, Fjallar og Frosti. Frosti means exactly what it sounds like. Finnur og Ginnar. Finnur would imply a Finn, or really a Sami from the way that word is used in Old Norse. It will be up, the word be, vera left out as it often is in Old Norse in these constructions, and something being up means famous, so it will be famous while the age lives, while the world lives. The count tall of the long descendants of Lovar heaved, or had. Either way, it's an unusual past participle, but it will be held up, perhaps, Thatman havat upi, while the world lives, the names of these descendants of Lovar. Stanza 17, we're suddenly jolted back into the greater affairs of the gods. Uns thrir quomu, urthvi lithi, oblgir ok ostgir, asir at husi, fundu o landi, lit megandi, ask ok emblu, urlog lausa. Until 3 masculine came out of that company, that group, powerful Ovelgir and loving, passionate Ostgir, Asir, of course, the dominant family of the gods, to a house, Athusi. This has also been interpreted as being a residence, more broadly, perhaps meaning Midgard, the residence of human beings. They found on land, little powerful, Lit Megandi, Oscar and Embla, fateless, Urlog Lausa. So these are the first human beings, Oscar and Embla. Stanza 18, one of our 9th stanzas, so I'll do this word by word. As we continue talking about the first human beings, On thou ne otu, O thou ne hovdu, Lo ne lati, ne litu Gotha, Ond gav Odin, Oth gav Hunir, Lo gav Lothar, Ok litu Gotha. They, Oscar and Embla, you can tell it's them because this is a neuter, so it means a masculine and a feminine. They had no soul. They had no spirit. Ond and Oth, Other, are both spirit or soul. They had no hair, law, nor lati, voice, nor good colors or appearances, Gotha litu. Odin gave spirit, Odin gav ond. Hunir gave soul, Hunir gave oath. Lothar gave hair, Lothar gav law, and good looks, ok Gotha litu. Hunir is mentioned elsewhere in Våluspá. He's one of the gods we'll see who will survive Ragnarok. He occasionally comes up just randomly elsewhere, but he's a very obscure figure. Lothar, not known outside of Våluspá to my recollection. Possibly a name for another figure. Stanza 19. Ask vet extanda, hetir Yggdrasil. Hor badmr, ausen hvita ári. Þaðan koma dogvar, þers í Dalafalla. Stender yfir grunn, urðar brunni. I know an ash tree, Oscar. Notice, Yggdrasil is an ash tree, and an ash tree is also the name of the first human man. It is called Yggdrasil, a high tree, hor badmr, sprinkled with white clay, ausen hvita ári. From there, þaðan, come dews, koma dogvar, those which there fall into valleys, í dala. It stands forever, stender green, grunn, over the well of Urður. Yggdrasil, of course, the name of this tree is fascinating because Ygr is a common name of Odin that we see in Norse poetry, and Drasil means tree. I mean, not tree, it means horse. So the name of the tree is literally like the horse of Odin, or Odin horse, probably in reference to the fact that he hangs himself on it in Havamal, and so he rides it. And in Norse poetry, there's often a little bit of gallows humor, literally gallows humor here. You ride the gallows, just like you ride a horse. The sprinkled with white clay, a little bit mysterious. There must be some significance to that, and story may not have it right. Also notice in the 6th line, thers í Dalafalla, we've got that S, which is the abbreviation of the word S, which is the more archaic form of is or who or which. That suggests, of course, an earlier date for this poem, at least than 1200, when S is replaced by Er. In stanza 20, we encounter the Norns who live at the root of the tree. Thadan koma moir marks vitandi, þrjár þeim sæ, þoli stendur. Urð hetu eina, aðra verðandi, skaru skíði, skuld enna þriðju, þær logðu, þær líf kuru, alda bornum, urlog segja. From there come maidens, young women, knowing much, marks vitandi. 3 out of that body of water, that's them sæ, which stands under the tree, stendur und þoli. They call one hetu eina urð, so urður is one of the Norns. The other one verðandi, second one of the Norns. They carve on a wooden plank, skoru skíði. Skíð also, of course, being what becomes the English word ski, by a loan from modern Norwegian ski. And the third one, skuld. So these are the 3 Norns, the 3 goddesses of destiny. I've talked about their names elsewhere. Urður is related to the past participle of become, so what has become, what has happened. Verðandi to the present participle of it, so what is happening, what is becoming. And skuld means, much like what its English cognate should means, it's what ought to happen perhaps. But it means ought, should. They, þær, they laid laws, logðu log. They chose lives, kuru leave, for sons of men, bornum alda. The fates of men, urlog segja. So segja could be the genitive plural of segir, which is a poetic word for men. It could also be an obscure or incorrectly copied form of the word segja to say, so they say fates. But I'd rather correct the text as minimally as possible and say segja, genitive plural of segir, men. So that is the earliest events in the history of the 9 worlds according to Våluspá, stanzas 1 to 20. And in a future installment, not necessarily posted right after this one, I will come back and review the rest of Våluspá, or at least another good chunk of it. For now, from high above beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.